All right, man. I don't know if that's a multiple choice question I got for you there. You know, if it's injury, if it's money, if it's ego. But when this is all said and done, what do you think is the end of the Golden State Warriors? How does it happen?
Well, it's probably money. If all of these guys want full deals, and that's maybe the one downside of the success is that usually players later in their career will take less to try to find that way to get that elusive ring. But when it happens when everybody's young, and that's really what's happened to this Warriors group, you'd have to ask, okay, would it be human nature where personalities would say, okay, you know what? Like, I've got my rings, I've got the accolades, I've done this whole thing, and now I just want to make sure that this next contract with this new salary cap is as much money as I possibly can get. And if every player wants that, because Steph already has it, and Durant has close to it, and even he's taken less, if Klay wants it and Draymond wants it, like, we're talking about $160 million in a couple years for 4 players. And when you start factoring in the repeater tax for the luxury tax fines on teams that constantly go over the luxury tax, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So as solid as NBA franchises are, and owners have a creative way of talking about losing money but never losing money on the actual investment of the franchise, I don't know if the Warriors, even with the success in this great group, would want to do it. I don't know if it's egos, because I think the cool thing about this team is they are a very selfless group. But you can have selfless guys decide they want to try something different. We had a guy in Kawhi Leonard who just did something that none of us ever thought he had in his personality. He sat out an entire year. So if they were to win this whole thing, fix this series, beat whoever comes out of the East, I think it'd be harder for the organization to say, let's get proactive and get in front of this luxury tax bill and try to come up with another roster solution. Whereas if they were to lose to Houston in Game 6 or Game 7, they might be willing to explore it a little bit more. But it's probably just about money more than anything that's basketball fit, because they all still fit really well together, despite what we've seen for the last 2 games.
Wait, talking to Ryen Russillo here, host of the Russillo podcast on the Will Cain Show. So, wait, clarify that for me. So you think losing to Houston would make the Warriors do what? Self-reflect in what way regarding this potential money bind?
Look at it this way. If you're the owner, if you're Bob Myers, and you go, okay, we know we are staring down the barrel of a almost impossible situation financially for 4 guys. Okay, we love all our guys. Everything's working out. Everything's great. But would we want to ever explore moving 2 for another superstar, so that we're paying 3 guys superstar money and then filling out the roster the rest of the way instead of 4? Because we don't know if we can do that. I'm not saying this would happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they explored it. And I think it's an easier exploration if you were to lose in the Western Conference Finals than win your 3rd title in 4 years and have all of these guys under contract at the money they're under, at least for 1 more season. Like, the likelihood of the ownership would go, hey, this is a really rare thing. Let's keep this thing rolling. We just won a title. Where if you lost, I think it's an easier sell to go, we just wanted to try something different. And even that would be really hard, because I don't know what you would get in value back if you were moving a Draymond or a Klay for somebody who's another one of those superstars. Like, you would have to be a certain top 5 or top 10 player, and Klay and Draymond are kind of bordering that anyway.
So I know we're dealing in hypotheticals here, but is that the 2 you would anticipate would be part of that equation, Klay and Draymond, for somebody to come back?
Yeah.
Which 2 would you – that's it?
Yeah. I think, look, if I were running the team, you go, we have 2 top 5 guys in Curry and Durant, and, let's see if we can do something else. But, this is – a lot of this stuff is predicated on what's available and who's available, who's also willing to sign an extension. Yeah, I just think this league is so different now that we have to pay attention to what the star players want to do. And would a star player go, you know what, I would get traded there. Okay, fine, I'll do an extension there. But if somebody's not doing the extension, like, that's why Paul George, the market for him wasn't really that great a year ago, because all the franchises were worried about what extension would be. But I don't want you to turn this into like me saying this is what will happen or would happen. I just think it's an easier sell if the Warriors come up short. I'm not even convinced that's going to happen these next 2 games.
No, I'm not going to turn it into anything. I can't be responsible for what the blogs do, though. So that's on you. Ryen Russillo here on the Will Cain Show.
I wanted to clarify that.
Listen, okay, but I want to keep going on this for a second. Does anything over the last 2 games, I know you said, because as a pecking order, you're right. It's it's KD and Steph at the top of the pecking order, and Klay and Draymond at the bottom. But does anything in the last 2 games give you pause about the ability of KD and Steph to get the most out of each other on the same team, and therefore that's definitely the 2 we want to ride into the future with?
Yeah, see, that's where people make mistakes, and I don't operate that way. The last two games are really weird. The fact that the Warriors could have the third quarter they had in Game 4 at home and to score 12 points in the fourth quarter is astonishing. But look, weird stuff happens. But then to have that kind of hangover and know that's what you just did, and then lose Game 5 in a similar fashion where you can't close. The Harden team is the tougher team. The Houston team, the spacing and shooting a million threes is tougher than you, and they're looking tougher to close games out. That's what we've seen in the last two games, and it's kind of weird. But you can't then all of a sudden dismiss all the other evidence we have of a team that beat them by 41 in Game 3, or a team in 2016 that blitzed through everybody in the playoffs. So this living in the moment evaluation that we do, where it starts turning into, wait a minute, is Durant Steph really a great fit? Well, they're a pretty good fit last year, and this is a good Houston teteam. And, it also turns into this weird thing with Durant and Westbrook where it's like, oh, see, this is what Westbrook wanted to move on from. All right, so we're just going to ignore the fact that Durant last year in the finals. So I don't freak out because of two games. Houston's done a really good job extending their defense, and the Warriors haven't closed the way I expect them to. So it's weird, but it doesn't mean I would start saying, let me get really dangerous here with what I want to do with a roster.
Right. All right, man. I won't turn it into anything, I promise. I appreciate it, man.
I don't know, man. I think I can hear the gears working, and you're like, coming up next, the trades
5 days a week.
With the Warriors.
5 days a week, 15 hours. No.
Miss you,
I keep
man.
it real. All right.